Yes, sir.
We're going to call to order the Effingham County Board of Commissioners meeting for this December 1st, 2020, and it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to ask everyone if they please rise and join us in invocation given by Commissioner Burdette, and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Lord God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all you do for us, Father. And Lord, I want to pray tonight for those that are hurting, those that are sick, those that are having issues, Lord, this year. I know there are a lot of them, and a lot of them on my heart and others here tonight, Lord. Just pray you be with them, you give them peace and comfort, help and healing where they need it, Lord. And we just depend on you for so much. We're so grateful for everything. Pray for a great meeting tonight. We pray that the decisions that we make will be glorifying you in some way. And I pray you bless each and every one here tonight, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is our agenda. Need a resolution to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
No, sir.
Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve agenda.
All right, I think I heard Mr. Keefe over here said so moved, and I'm going to think Mr. Loper is a second. Okay. Mr. Keefe is the motion, second by Mr. Loper. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And our agenda is approved. Minutes, consideration to approve the minutes of the November 17th, 2020 Commissioner meeting. I have read those minutes. They appear to be an active meeting, but are there any corrections or additions? Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Deloach. Do I hear a second, Mr. Floyd?
Yep.
To approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And our minutes are approved. Welcome, I was supposed to say public, but I think our public is our department heads and elected officials, so we appreciate you being here tonight. And we're here by phone. Just want to remind everybody that the documents for this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. And if everyone's had a chance to review those, and if you comment by phone or in person, keep those comments to a couple of minutes. That will help everyone that would like to express a thought about the agenda item to do so. And with that, we'll move into our consent agenda. We have two items on our consent agenda. One is consideration to approve the fire releases as approved by the fire chief and submitted by administrative staff. And two, consideration to approve sanitation releases as approved by the fire chief, tax commissioner, and submitted by the administrative staff. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second Mr. Deloach to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And our consent agenda is approved. We move into our new business. Item number one is policy, consideration to approve to implement the Abandoned Mobile Home Act for mobile homes and appoint two local government agents for the unincorporated area of the county.
I'm here tonight on behalf of me and Miss Linda. She sends her apologies. She was unable to make it this afternoon. But basically what this ordinance would do, or policy would do, is allow citizens of Effingham County that have abandoned mobile homes on their property to legally dispose or remove the mobile home off of their property. Say if they're allowing a renter to occupy their property and the renter ups and leaves the mobile home, or they actually own the mobile home, they're actually renting the lot space or the land. It would actually give them a legal way to remove that mobile home. But to do so, we would need y'all to appoint mine and Miss Linda's office as qualified agents to start that process. Basically, our offices would go out, inspect the mobile home, and talk with the landowner to make sure that this stuff qualified before it goes to magistrate court.
Okay, so if you have a trailer park, hypothetically, and you have someone who has a home out there, they don't pay their lot rent, and you want to remove that home, this would assist that
That's right.
theoretical property owner.
Yes.
Seems like a good policy. I know that's a problem right now. Okay, any questions or discussion?
Yes. Who owns the land and who pays the taxes on that piece of property?
So this process, the landowner would have to pay for all the legal costs with this
Who
entire.
owns the land where it's at and who pays the taxes on it?
So on this would be, of course, the property owner would own the land only, and it would be a different owner for the mobile home.
Yeah, so currently, in that situation, the property owner is paying the taxes on the
I don't
land.
think that's our job. That's their land, his trailer, or if he's renting it out or whatever it is, he pays the property on that land. And if he wants to let it sit there until it rots to the ground, that's his priority to do that.
But this
I don't
is
think the county
the
ought to have
difference.
anything to do with that.
This is a different situation. This is a situation where the property owner owns the property, but a mobile home, owner owns a mobile home. They're paying the mobile home taxes, but the property owner's paying the land taxes. And then they abandon that home, and because I've got some on my property, and it goes for 8 to 10 years, and the county can't collect the property taxes on the mobile home. I can't remove the mobile home. I've got a lot I can't rent. This would be an avenue which that home could be removed and remedied. so
Yes,
that,
it would be kind of like an eviction, I guess you would say,
Correct.
on the mobile home itself.
This would not be for someone to own the land and the mobile home on that.
That's correct. It would be the mobile home structure only to basically legally, because if a landowner moves a mobile home without the mobile home owner's permission, technically, I guess legally, the mobile home owner could come back against the property owner. This is basically I guess you would say, an eviction of the mobile home itself.
But a property owner that has his own mobile home, he can let it rot. He can leave it right there.
This is not forcing the property owner into any situation,
No,
right?
this would be, so what would happen is a property owner would approach us, and they would basically incur all this cost themselves. They would have, like, I believe it's 180 days to dispose of the mobile home. They would take on all the responsibility of tearing down the mobile home, disposing of it. They would have court fees with magistrate. I mean, it would not cost the county anything to do this. It would just provide the citizens of Effingham County a way to legally get a mobile home off their property.
So if the fellow that owns the land wants it off, that's the only person that it will affect, right?
That's correct. And
Okay.
I believe there's 90 days.
Okay.
It has to run in the newspaper, and there's 90 days in which the mobile home owner has the right to claim the mobile home. And
Okay,
of course,
I got
at that time, he would have to take responsibility of that mobile home.
Well, I thought y'all don't just go around and y'all see a mobile home, like, y'all just go and, say y'all got to move this thing, but
Yeah, there's
this is,
cases,
the homeowner wants it moved out of there.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's,
And they have no further recourse.
Yeah, no other
Nobody can come back on.
That's
Okay.
correct.
there are landowners right now, not just people like myself that are park, that have 5-acre tracts where they allow somebody to put a home out there, rent it to them, and then they abandon it, and it gets run down.
Yeah.
They have no avenue for which to disperse that.
I don't have
to a lot of legal
that.
costs.
That's right.
And this gets a legal avenue without,
That's correct.
I thought y'all don't just ride around and see one and go and see what.
well, no, all they gotta wait for is us land, people who own these lots, to come to them and say, we need some help, and they'll have a policy now that'll help.
That's right.
Any other discussion? I believe it would be alternative 1 to approve this,
What's the recommended alternative?
alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve the recommended alternative to appoint a local government agent or agents for Effingham County to implement the abandoned mobile home act to determine if the mobile home is derelict or intact and allow the responsible party to move forward as needed.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any carries. Thank you for taking care of that property. Item number 2, awards. Consideration to approve to accept a grant award from Georgia Healthcare Preparedness Program, HPP.
Good evening, Christy Carpenter, Finance Director. We have been awarded $5,562 from Georgia's HPP. EMA wants to use these funds to purchase additional PPE, and there's no cost share. Staff recommends approval. Alternative number 1.
Any questions or discussion? Motion for alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any carries. Item number 3, resolution. Consideration to approve a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2021 budget.
So if you remember this year, we gave you a very conservative budget once COVID came out. We have taken another look at that. We did not experience the reduction that we estimated we would, so we reinstated a lot of those revenues. We also had received money from CARES Act and funds from the sale of that property just recently. So you're going to notice in this that we're building fund balance in general fund. Expenses, I'm just going to touch some of the highlights. They're all listed there for you, but staff's recommending a 3% COLA for all county employees effective January 1st. There's EMS funding for an additional ambulance. Sheriff's Office funding for the body scanner that was previously approved. In Recreation, we reinstated their original budget. Parks and Landscape has an additional project for playground maintenance. There's funding to purchase a tanker from the city of Pooler for fire and complete the Hodgeville station. We also added T-Splost in this amendment. So it is a long list. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
These are the kind of budget amendments we like.
Yes.
So there's an improvement to McCall Park, which of course I'm interested in, or have been for a long time.
Mhm.
I know we have 75,000 added to that. Is there an amount set aside for that?
For McCall Park itself, I would have to double check on that one for you. I think we did put McCall Park in here, but I can't remember if we did the whole.
You're speaking.
150. I'll take a look on that one.
Commissioner Burdette had asked that we beef that up a little bit for that earlier in the county.
Right.
Good chance.
Do we know what we're going to do there yet, or that planning stage will come later on?
There's a plan I can send you that is sitting. It's just proposed at this point, I believe. Tim's moved further along with that.
And we're going to try and use the kind of the proposed plan to figure out what we can afford with the dollar figure adjusted, and see if we can look at some cost savings by combining the bid with some repairs and upgrades that have to be done to Baker as well. The path and the bathroom at Baker. So we're going to be looking at both of those, but so I was looking to see if the funds were in this, were in here, or we are going to look at coming back to the board once we get an idea of those costs. And again, because of the additional revenues, will clearly be within budget to take care of it.
Just a quick comment on that. If we can do it together, obviously be some economy, might be some savings in the bidding, I'm sure. But at the same time, I know Mr. Burdette has worked with his constituents on his road. They'd probably like to see this. So if we find that the Baker was going to take a while, I would suggest we go ahead and make sure we move forward on that.
If Baker's going to be the thing that holds it up, we will move forward with McCall.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on the 3% COLA, do we need to clarify the motion what we talked about before, or that's something that we...
Yeah, I believe you do. I'd spoken
I think it's a good idea, but
I've spoken with our county manager about a thought on the 3% COLA. And Jane and I got a chance recently to just talk about it briefly, but we haven't talked about it with the board. Do you have a recommendation based on our conversation you want to make part of this motion, or?
Well, it would be, because we advertise the existing motion just as it changes, we want to add additional, amend it to add additional restrictions to the money set aside for the raises. That's what's in the budget increases. To state that rather than a flat 3%, it is a 1.5% goes across the board as a COLA, with the other 1.5% being distributed discretionary by the either the elected official, the appointed official, and or the department head. But if it's a department head, it has to be approved by me. And so the point being here is that if let's say the sheriff's department, if they feel that there's certain folks that could use
Deserve a merit raise.
deserve a merit, they can give them a higher increase than the 1.5%, while somebody who, let's say, is new, doesn't have, for whatever reason, could get lower than the 1.5%. If they want to give everybody 3%, it's discretionary, so they can give everybody 3%. We're just simply saying you will have discretion over the 1.5%, over the second 1.5%.
So would it be fair to, and we discussed with the manager, because I'm always more in favor of merit raises than I am just COLAs. And so when you tell me we're going to put this tonight in the budget, what we discussed, what he just said, let's add to this motion for the COLA to divide it this way. 1.5% would be a COLA across the board to all our employees in the county. And then 1.5 would be a merit percentage of that elected official or department head's budget to be dispersed appropriately based on merit with their staff. They may have 10 key employees, for example, they want to use it less. And then maybe put a cap that no one can have more than maybe a total of 5% increase in their salary. And I would limit it to that because we don't want to circumvent our salary study that's coming along in July 1, which we will look at all the salaries at that time. But our fire chief is here. He may have 3 or 4 key employees that he would like to see have a 4 or 5% increase, and somebody else just a 1.5 or 2%. And it gives them some discretion to look at the mayors and do that. So I would suggest that we add to this motion on the COLA end to make it 1.5% COLA and 1.5% merit. The merit would be dispersed according to the elected officials' determination, and the department heads would be based on their determination along with our county manager reviewing that, since you're over our department heads. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like it. The merit part, I think we should quantify in some way based on an evaluation of a certain score. However we're supposed to be doing evals, I guess we are in each department. But we need to make it to where the merit-based raise is not so subjective. Just, okay, I think you're great. We need something to back that up, I would think. Like their last 2 evals equal out to a 3.0 above. Whatever that is, I don't know what that is, but then you've got some justification for those raises. And you've got that in writing, you've got it based on the last 2 performance evals. Rather than just, I think that they're doing a good job. Why do you think they're doing a good job? Other people can look in the future, hey, I want to get my eval better. I want to do a better job in this area. They've got something to strive to.
To that point, they should be able to work for the department head side of it, which is half of our employment.
Correct, but not necessarily on the elected side of it, but certainly on the folks that are under my supervision, that
Exactly.
we can work with them on what their justification was for their decision.
And so Vicki can help with that, human resources, to come up with the, I'm sure they got evaluation forms, and probably you're filling those out. For example, I'll just pick on you since you're here. You're probably evaluating your staff every year anyway. Now you can use that as a tool to merit them based on good performance. And you may decide to give them all the same thing, that's fine too.
But you ought to have a 3% cap on all of it, and then they get 1.5%, and then they're not gonna give everybody, not gonna give the 3%, so if they wanna give them the other 1.5%, they can do that, but and we look at this study too, I don't think we need to have over 3% raise out there altogether on this code.
Well, what I was suggesting was that, right now, the way it says, we're gonna give 3% of our salaries as an expense to the budget. It would still be a 3%, that would not change tonight, but it would allow an employee that maybe is underpaid based on merit, might get additional percent beyond the 3, get 4, because somebody else only got 1.5. They got a percent they could share with somebody else.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's what I would recommend, giving that freedom, because there are some folks that, many elected officials have turned, they say they believe they need this pay to keep them.
So it won't cost us any more than the 3% for all of their
It won't
employees?
cost us any more, what it's recommended.
Just how it's divvied up.
Yeah,
Okay,
and they may not spend it all. They may say, hey, I don't want to spend it all based on that. It
okay.
gives them some freedom. So I'm going to take a motion to approve the budget amendment with that adjustment of 1.5% COLA and 1.5% merit to be dispersed by the elected officials as they merit their staff, and by department heads, how they merit them based on evaluations and the county manager's approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DeLoach, second by Mr. Burdette. For the motions I just stated, all in favor say aye. All opposed, no. It carries.
Thank you.
That's good. Item number 4, agreements. Consideration to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Guyton and the Effingham County Correctional Institution Prison for the use of inmates.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, staff is requesting approval of this agreement. This is similar to the agreements that we have with the City of Lincoln, Springfield, and GDOT with regards to use of inmate work details. They would essentially be agreeing to pay the total compensation cost for one guard and this would free them to use medium security inmates as well. There's no cost on the county side on this.
That's good. Any questions or discussion? I did talk to the mayor. They are really excited about this employee. They said they got good word from the other cities who have used them and said it's a great deal. So it's good. Motion to approve alternative 1.
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. DeLoach, to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. It carries unanimously. Item number 5, ordinances. Consideration to approve the first reading to amend Part 2, Appendix C, Article 5, Section 5.1, uses permitted in districts of Code of Ordinances of Effingham County.
So this follows from the rezoning on Hodgeville Road, the last meeting, or the last few meetings, where there was discussion of whether we could add mini storage, for example, as a conditional use in more categories, because really it was prohibited in all but B3 and industrial, and it was felt that it was better to just allow it in AR and B1 as a conditional use than to prohibit it and force rezonings to the more intensive uses. So what we're proposing here is actually a total of 4 ordinance changes, which all relate to mini storage. And I can summarize them. They are summarized actually in the recommendation. And for AR1, which is section 5.1, we've added a new conditional use under the list that's currently there, and that is self-storage or mini storage facilities with the definition that I obtained from a mini storage industry group, so it's more specific about what it is we're talking about. And that would then flow into the next one. So do you want to take these one at a time, or can I just talk about
I'm
them?
going to suggest you go and explain so we all understand what we're doing, and then I'll just take a vote on each
At one at a time.
one.
Okay, so AR1, we would add a conditional use.
Correct, that's item number 6.
Yeah, and then for the next one, section 5.2, normally AR1 uses, even conditional use, flow into AR2 as permitted use unless they're specifically excluded, and that does happen in a few cases. So what I've done here is, because AR2, those are smaller lots, generally you want to be more careful about what we're allowing there. I've included it as a conditional use, but made sure to exclude it as an automatic permitted use. That way we're still watching it very carefully, we're still able to add conditions as need be. So it's still added under the listing of conditional uses in AR2, but specifically not included as something that just flows through. So it's just closing that door for an accidental, permitted use. So that's AR2. AR1 and 2, just conditional use, meaning it comes before the board, we consider conditions. For B1, we're recommending here that we add, again, as a conditional use with the same definition and remove the prohibition, because B1 had an actual prohibition of warehouses, including mini warehouses, so struck out those words, the mini warehouse words, so that now B1, if your land is already zoned B1, then mini warehouses are, or mini storage is something that
So
can be.
stating again, when we get to number 8, where it was not a permitted use in B1, now it will be a permitted use in B1.
Conditional use in
Conditional
B1,
use.
conditional use in
Conditional
B1,
use.
so we get to scrutinize it and make sure
It's not
that we're having.
excluded, but it will be a conditional use.
Yeah, it's no longer excluded.
That's
It
right.
is a conditional use. And then with B2, again, anything in B1 automatically flows in as a permitted use in B2. And that, in this case, we allowed that. So it'll flow in as a permitted use in B2, which is, generally speaking, more intensive anyway. For example, B2 already allows fast food, retail business, libraries, bus stations, movie theaters, so, mini storage isn't that far off. And we removed the prohibition, just again, to make sure that we're not closing the back door. So in all of these, in AR1, AR2, B1, B2, no, I'm sorry, AR1, AR2, and B1, conditional use only. So we scrutinize it. In B2, it flows in as a permitted use.
Yeah.
And is no longer excluded.
Correct, that's what I understood. All right, so that's the 4 items we're going to come down, we'll read each one individually. But are there any questions about items 6, 7, 8, or 9 before I read each one?
Yes, sir. There's a lot of things under AR1 and AR2 as it stands now. You have home-based business, you have rural things and all this kind of stuff. You've got a whole page of AR1 and it's allowed in AR1 and AR2. I don't think we ought to put anything else under AR1 and AR2. And the third one, you got it right. Put both of AR1 and, the third and fourth one, put them both under B1. Don't just leave AR1 and AR2, don't do it. But change the third and the fourth one, which is AR1 and AR2, put a B1, change that to B1 so they can get under B1 on both of them. So you add B1 to the third and the fourth one, and just leave AR1 and AR2 just like it stands today.
So let me ask you then, are you thinking there's no condition in which you want to?
No, don't do anything with AR1, just strike AR1 and AR2, leave it just exactly like it
I
is.
think I understand, we'll make sure, because I'm not sure on that same page, but you're saying there's no condition in which you think a mini storage could be an AR1 or AR2 area?
Nope, that's
Should never be.
exactly right.
I would agree with him myself.
Okay.
It's just not
And
compatible.
then on the third or fourth one, you put both earn a B1, and then, that's fine. They don't have to go to B2 or B3, they can get it earn a B1.
And as a
Just
condition,
put both of them in B1. The mini storage on both of them, AR1 and AR2 on 3 and 4. Make it very simple.
So what you're saying too is B1 would be conditional, B2?
Yeah, I don't think this uses, there are some conditional uses in the AR that make sense. I don't think this is one. This is, could potentially be a lot of residential traffic, more so than what you would typically want to see probably in AR districts.
Well, you're doing away with what AR1 and AR2 stand for,
Well, also you're doing away with what B1, B2, and B3 stand for too.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah,
B1
no, I,
Well, mini storage is still, it's a business, it'd be in B1, so I think it still eliminates the issue that we came up against last month is,
That's right. Just let them put the door in.
And I appreciate staff bringing it, because this was, I'm glad you brought it so we can have a discussion, because that's what we discussed.
I did want to just mention our logic behind the AR1 and AR2, and that simply was that the comment was made at some point during the meeting that it was logical to have a self-storage facility adjacent to a residential development, but the concern about rezoning that an AR piece of property to B and what potential that could have on surrounding property. So our thought was to simply permit it as a conditional use where you all can look at it on an individual basis and determine whether it's appropriate or not.
No.
But that was our own.
No, I remember that. I didn't agree with it then, but I do remember it coming up.
I just wanted to let you know what our basis was.
I don't think nothing else needs to go under AR1 and AR2.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing else. There could very well be something that comes up that fits.
But there's a lot of stuff already out there. You got a whole page full of stuff that goes under both of them. And I don't have no problem with them. They've been on there for years.
What Tim is saying, though, we're putting storage beside houses that need storage. And that's why, rather than going to a B zoning, why don't we allow storage to go beside houses without having to change everything and not having to worry about making it, make it easier for the person trying to do it, and it'd make it easier on us, because we won't have to worry about how restricted we gotta be or we don't need to be. We just allow that. And you've always put mini storage beside houses. And that's where I don't think they would go. To me, it was a natural fit for me, for the last person who comes out of Modular to do that. It was just going to B3 and allowing everything else that made it difficult, I think for everybody. But I don't have a problem with it being AR, so it's AR houses. And it's limiting it to that. I think maybe in the past, they equated a mini storage with a warehouse. And this is kind of what the zoning has been written.
It's not an industrial use, but I do believe it's a bona fide commercial.
It's a commercial use.
Because just on the flip side, next to a residential development, it may be good to have a convenience store.
Yeah.
So would it make sense to put a convenience store on AR?
No, but applications for that, and usually the convenience.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a slippery slope.
Here you go.
I just think the most easiest one would be the B1, honestly. Agricultural, residential, and then if they want a business, it has to have some type of commercial zoning, and B1 being the most least restrictive.
And I think you got it on the next two.
I love the Bs. I love the conditional use B1, approved use B2, and of course B3. Is that how it's approved in B2?
It's conditional.
I like
It's
this.
conditional B3 right now, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Anything that's in B1 or B2, it's automatic.
It's conditional.
I thought it's an approved
I think
use.
that's why he applied for
No,
B.
it's allowed in B3.
It's allowed to be.
Oh, it is.
It's traditionally allowed in
Just for
B3.
clarity, that's why the previous applicant applied under B3, which caused our issue, because he would have applied under a lesser B, but he couldn't because it was specifically, more specific, he disallowed.
It's least restrictive of commercial.
B1 would be,
No, I agree with that.
I agree.
B1 would be restricted, and B3, it covers everything.
So if I hear what I'm saying, then what you're going to want to do is you want to vote down 5 and 6, just to be clear, because that's asking this to be conditional uses of AR1 and AR2. So when I read that one and ask for a motion, if you want to deny it, you'd have to motion to deny on those two. And it would not be added as conditional use of AR1 and AR2. When I get to number 8, under B1, it would be a conditional use. Right now, it's a disallowed use. If you'd like to change it to a conditional use, you would vote to approve it. And when I get to number 8, that's the B2, it would be an allowed use versus a conditional use under 2.
B2 is a conditional use.
Conditional 2 is conditional or allowed use?
Conditional. B2.
What?
So
Let's just clarify that for further. Is the motion on condition 2 to add a conditional use or allowed use?
The recommendation was to allow it to become a permitted use in B2. If you want me to change that.
That's what I'm saying. So
it'd be permitted B2 by right, conditional in B1.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So back to that, First two, you denied. The second one, you approved because of the conditional use for B1, that's what you're recommending. And the fourth one we vote on is a permitted use under B2. That's what you'll be approving tonight. Okay? So I'll go down, I'll read each one. If there's any question, we can ask at that point, or we can go over the motion. So do I have a motion to deny the request for consideration to approve the first reading of amendment, Part 2, Section C, Article 5, Section 5.1, uses permitted in the District of Code of Ordinance of Effingham County? This will be a conditional use, and they all want to have a motion to deny.
Make a motion to deny.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer to deny, second by Mr. Loper to deny that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Request, I guess, the neighbors say that. Right. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And so that motion has been unanimously declined, or that proposal consideration has been unanimously declined. Next is a consideration to approve the first reading to amend Part 2, Section C, Article 5, Section 5.2, uses permitted in districts of the Code of Ordinances of Effingham County. This is to make mini storage a conditional use of AR2. Do you have a motion to deny?
Make a motion to deny.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second Mr. Deloach, to deny mini storages in AR2 as an adjustment to this ordinance. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And so that will not change. Number 7 is consideration to approve the first reading to amend Part 2, Section C, Article 5, Section 5.9, uses permitted in districts of the Code of Ordinances of Effingham County. And this is making mini storage a conditional use of B1. Do you have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I heard Tim, I'll pick up Mr. Burdette on the motion to approve. I think I heard Mr. Loach on the second. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. And item number 8, consideration to approve the first reading to amend Part 2, Appendix C, Article 5, Section 5.10, uses permitted in districts of the Code of Ordinances of Effingham County. Approve this change. Motion to approve, it would be to allow a permitted use of mini storage in B2. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd, Deloach, to approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. So I hope by reading that carefully, for our clerk, we won't be confused when she gets to writing minutes.
Okay.
It's approved.
Okay.
Item number 9, change order. Consideration to approve change order number 3 with R.W. Allen and Husky Day Bell related to the CEM Gym, Clarence E. Morgan Gym.
Yes, sir. Allison Bruton, purchasing agent. Hussey, Gay & Bell and R.W. Allen have submitted change order number 3, which contains 5 different requests. These requests will overall lower the contract price by $9,397.49, and staff recommends alternative 1.
Any questions or discussion?
This does incorporate, I believe, what was it, change order number 11 that the architecture firm, they were gonna pick up the labor maybe, or something?
Yes. It wasn't labor, it was,
What was it?
It was the markup on labor.
Okay, well, whatever it was.
Yes.
yes, that would be handled separately. from
That
my
be
understanding.
under an HCB, under the architect's
That's right.
contract, not the
I
construction.
just remember that. I was kind of-
Just a point of understanding, if we officially named that the C.E. Morgan Gymnasium, I know we have a park named Clarence E. Morgan Park,
No,
or is it just the gymnasium at the park?
I think this was written to the gymnasium at the park, at the Clarence Morgan
Okay.
facility, or,
I'd say that's what it is at this point.
it's just the Effingham County Gymnasium.
Yeah.
So, motion to approve alternative 1, is that right?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Keith to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries.
Thank you.
Item number 10, affidavit and resolution. Consideration to approve an affidavit of titling and resolution relating to title of infrastructure in the Colebrook Heights subdivision.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and board members. So on November 13th, staff discovered that a quitclaim deed was recorded by H&H Investments related to a road in Colebrook Heights subdivision. However, you as a board did not approve acceptance of that road. So the county attorney drafted the resolution and the affidavit of title to be recorded with the courts to file against that quitclaim deed that was filed, noting acceptance by the commissioners. So staff is recommending approval of this request.
So legally, it's just something we never accepted, but we did have it inspected by engineers and they did recommend to accept it.
My understanding and my review back in 2005 when the plat was approved, the board did not accept the road because there was some issues then. County planner had a
So
conversation.
we said we were going to accept it now?
No, this is basically formally,
Rejected.
Yeah.
I didn't follow.
That's right, it was rejected, it was never accepted by the board, and there has been no request by the owner to have it inspected.
Okay.
He said it's just gonna handle it.
I'm with you now.
So we're responsible for the road?
We are not.
No.
No,
We are not.
they're attempting to quit claim it to us,
Okay.
but we don't have to accept it.
We're authorizing our attorney to do this, whatever he needs to do
We're cleaning up.
to clean it up and not accept it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
it's like somebody giving you a dog for Christmas, and you didn't want a dog.
So that'll be alternative one.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
concerned that if we don't take these roads, who will be responsible for fixing these roads?
He is.
So he's
Whoever
taking
owns
that
it
on.
is responsible.
There's what, 8 lots out there?
8 lots, one of them.
Yes, there are 8 lots.
So what happens is the bank probably will not loan the monies for it unless the roads are owned by the county. We won't own to make sure they're up to our standards.
That's right. The lender is
So what happens-
requiring a maintenance agreement.
So they'll have a maintenance agreement for the roads and they'll be able to,
He would have that, yes,
I
sir.
see. Just want to make sure we don't leave the homeowners on the hook. You know, I've seen a couple of instances like that where things happened back before the recession, and the recession hit, and the bill rebels on the people, and the people are stuck. A mess up road and no recourse.
Okay? Alternative one, do you have a motion?
Any motion to the alternative one?
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burdette, is that Mr. Deloach?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And carries. Then appointment, consideration to approve and reappoint members of the planning board.
And you have in front of you on your staff report the individuals who currently sit on this board. The only recommended change is for District 1, and that representative is to be Mr. Mike Larson. He will begin at your January meeting. The terms of offices for these individuals are staggered, so if you note there, they're not all going to expire in the same year. So some will expire in January of 2025, and there are 2 others that will expire in 2023. The staff recommends approval as outlined unless you opt to do something different.
I'll let each of the districts speak now if you have something you want to change in this.
Mine was the only change, I believe. I believe District 1 was the only change.
Yours was on one.
How did it work when they were already expired and been serving during that period of time?
It's okay.
Speak to that. I would assume if they were appointed and their terms expired and no one opted to do anything otherwise, they continue until, you all appoint someone
And
different.
District 3 and District 5's, no, yeah, 5's, their term is already expired, so they're just
Correct.
filling
Serving for a
the
year,
spot.
Yes, sir. Willingly, I'll say, willingly.
2 years.
I do want to say, of course, the Goldens aren't here, but Mr. and Miss Golden have served on this board for my last 2 terms. He did it for a while, and he decided to get off, and his wife picked it up and wanted to do it. So that's 8 years of that family served on that board, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's good.
Go and sit down.
I think usually we have a provision in these where they continue to serve until otherwise
Is there,
you're refilled.
That's interesting.
Usually there's a catch-all,
not really an expired, or
even though it's probably prudent to re-up it.
That's right.
Like a lease, it can be annual lease, the month to month until we turn it.
unless you know it about 30 days that you're
That's
to.
right. So any other question, discussion, do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Burdette, I think heard first to approve, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. All right. So that concludes our regular scheduled business. Do we have a reason for executive session tonight?
Yes, just real quick.
All right, do I have a motion to go into executive?
Do we want to do staff, so if any staff needs to address this?
I didn't see staff report on.
Uh,
We did that last time, we can do it. Any staff reports tonight? We need to do. We did that last time. And I'll hold off on the commissioner, see what you have at the end of the meeting. Okay? So with that, I have a motion for executive session.
Motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel, property, and pending litigation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Burdette. On executive session, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And we are in executive session. You have a motion to go back into regular session?
Make a motion to go back to regular session?
Second.
Is that motion by Mr. Kiefer? Who made the motion for regular session?
Commissioner Lowe.
Mr. Loper? Okay. And who made the second?
Either me or Deloach this time.
Mr. Kiefer, all in favor say aye, go back to regular session.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We're back in regular session. Is there any comments or reports from anybody on the board or commission tonight?
Discussion.
Yeah, I want to bring something up. I just want us to be mindful on the next SPOS, because don't we have to vote on that? Is it next November? It'll be on the ballot, or is it 2 years?
We were just talking about it today to find out when the exact date is.
We don't
I can
have a
get,
countywide election in 21.
No. Yeah, it's got to be 22.
Got to be a
Yeah, 2
county
years.
22.
between two.
It's only municipal elections on
That's
even
right.
other years. Unless there's something special.
Right.
Okay, so we still got some time, so.
I'll get you the dates on it.
2 years for
Should,
SPOS.
should be.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Is there, how far in advance do we have to have it, our list or whatever, ready for the ballot?
I would think we do it on the same schedule well, actually, the T-Spot schedule is a little tight. So we probably start a little bit earlier, which would probably be about 10 months from now if it's the following November. And then, but we should probably start within this year, just figuring out what our capital construction project needs are. So we have our list ready, and then we can work it out with the municipalities, however we want to do it.
Speaking of construction, has the folks started on the bank yet, or are they?
They're
ready to
having,
mobilize, or?
yeah, they're having their first pre-construction meeting, I think on Thursday, at the location.
Okay, cool. That's all I have.
I would like when we do this SPOS to look at the countywide projects. We never have included that in the past,
Okay.
and that's been a loss for us.
I was going to ask about that, man. Covered that,
Okay. Anybody else?
so. I don't have anything.
There are a couple things. I don't know if anybody ever brought to the board the possibility of a property tax break for disabled veterans, or any thoughts on that. Haven't done much research on it, but I've been approached a while back and got some thought on it. I think it'd be great to do something like that, but do it based upon the percentage they're disabled, because there's some people that are 100% disabled, and some people that are 10, you know, could check for that accordingly. You know, just, I think if we did something, it would be great to do for this.
How about putting old people in that too?
That's what I was go around there. It's gonna be more people saying.
People that just feel.
That's the only bad.
Yeah, that's, you know, I'm pretty much done with this.
Sound
Good approach for that before.
And so people appreciate that, don't they?
Yeah.
Reggie, you the youngest, Reggie, you the youngest one up here. You the youngest one in this bunch.
Oh, mercy.
I don't know if anybody had any thoughts on something like that, or how you would approach that.
I think it'd be a good idea if we could do it. I mean, that's-
Or they'll get, can we? That will be probably.
Can't work out how to do it. I don't think it has to be something major where it could be a great gesture toward people who serve and
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but unfortunately, I agree with Commissioner Floyd is,
And I'm a veteran, I mean, it's a slippery slope, and where do you draw the
I mean,
line?
I think it's definitely worth consideration, but I don't know, I just worry about them falling down the slope.
I can say one struggle that we had, there was a gentleman that wanted to speak to the board about extending the property tax rebate for senior citizens. We scheduled him to be here, and then he didn't show, but the issue is who's a much larger player in the property tax than we are as a school district. Because a percentage reduction in ours is a much larger dollar figure for them, and they would have to be on board as well.
I think about that.
Then you get over half of it.
the other thing, we got range done a little, my goal was to do a little research and see how other counties handle that, and we just don't know how to handle that. I found one that is opening up a gun range anyway. And I don't know how we need to handle that. We need to do nothing, or we need to do something, or because we're going to have a gun range in Effingham County, and they're not getting any approval to do that. And my goal is not to be a whistleblower on them or anything, but I do want to be equitable to people who come here. You know, if we could do one for one, I think we need to do something along those lines and open the
You
vaults.
saying we have someone fixing to open a gun range that's not legal then, because we don't have a.
Well, that's what, if it's legal or not, but it'd be a commercial gun range where you pay to go shoot outdoors.
Well, has he got a license?
Uh,
If he doesn't, he's illegal. You send Corey folks for that and shut him down.
I don't know, man. I didn't investigate it any further.
He just having his buddies out there to shoot.
Well, I thought we showed something where back in 2009, he applied for something, and it's a large tract of land.
We got a hunting reserve and club and.
I'd have to go back and look at
It
it.
is a hunting club. They have,
They do bird hunting.
they do bird hunting with some other things. And this,
Because I've shot quail out there.
the shooting range is something new, because I've never had one.
They have the stations with the shotgun.
Right. But this is, now they're going to rifle range, pistol range. It's supposed to open up in the next week or two.
I mean, our sheriff's office has one right here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with whatever, but, you know, the guy was here, he's super
And I
certified.
wasn't here, so.
I just don't know what was approved yet. I mean, if it was approved, then
I don't think anything was approved, they just do it.
I think Stephanie sent us an email, gave us some background on that. I'd have to go back and look at the email.
Yeah, but he's never, I think he approved to open up what he passed so far, but I don't even know, since we don't have regulations on that, I don't know that he's illegal if he does something like that. You know, we can, I mean, it's,
It sounds like it's something we're gonna have to address.
That's what I'm saying.
For the entire county, though, some type of.
some kind of stipulations, and my goal was to, okay, look at another county, how do they handle it? How do they make it safe for them? And model off of that, and I wound up finding that in their own county. It's like, oh crap, I mean, what do you do?
I mean, I'm sure there are design standards out there.
There are.
You know, and that could easily.
And there's DOD, Department of Defense design standards, and there's, I'm sure, private ones, you know. We just need to do something, first of all, protecting people, second of all, to be equitable to our county. And I'm not saying we do anything against this gun range that's coming up. At least make it, if it fits the bill that we're looking for, let them apply for it, make it legal. And, you know, I'll be all for limiting the amount of gun ranges we have today. Okay? We limit billboards and everything else. Why can't we say we can only have 3 or 4?
I would support the gentleman last week had a time limit.
The time was bad for him, but also he's got literally across the street a person that would
Yeah,
hear
he's in a
that.
residential.
He'd be hearing that all day long. You know, I wouldn't cross the street from him.
See, I know Bryan, I know Bryan County has one, because I work with a lady who, she's going out here and taking some self-defense classes, but it is out in the middle of nowhere. There are no residences close by, and, I mean, those instructors are well-trained as well, but, you know.
But that's the thing, what is that? It would be 500 yards away from the next residence. You know, I know we've got, well, we need to be able to shoot personal. We've already got some guidelines for that. But for something commercial, that maybe needs to be.
2,000, 3,000.
Yeah, we don't know that. So that's all I'm asking. Can we discuss that? And we're going to do that.
That's the thing.
That's why I was looking for another, maybe Bryan County is this one. You know, I've shot ranges in South Carolina. It's been many years ago.
Did you have a comment that we need to hear from you, probably?
I was just saying that probably we need to look at the zoning of it, because that's getting commercial now. They're making money off of it. Do they have a business license? Is this AR1? I mean, it's commercial activity. So, that is starting point, the one that's happening now.
Yeah.
Or about that.
Well, I think they've been doing that commercially, but just not the shooting range part. They've had hunting clubs, quail hunting club, you can pay them out there to shoot quail.
I think that would be a little different than having a gun range.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely the patient safety.
I would like to start here. You say Stephanie's already got some information, I probably just didn't pull it up and look at it. But I'd like to get it by the next meeting if we could, to know what this is, what they have, and what they are legally zoned and licensed to have. I think we need to start there, know what they have.
I have that, Teresa's emailed me some of that information. I can give you a synopsis and send it to you as well.
That'd be great.
They come up with, places like will probably fit the bill. They're out in the middle of nowhere, you know. But, you know, that, somebody else should be able to do that, but they gotta be out in the middle of nowhere or anybody also.
But let's start with that, get that, make sure that's on track and cleaned up and where it should be. And then secondly, I would suggest that management, through Teresa, or whatever, could look at what you're trying to do, what gun ranges for noise, residential, what are others approving, things that we could look and get out ahead. Safety, all the things that we would want to look at. Berms and, yeah, all, just give us some stuff to look at, and then maybe that we can, there's something we can improve. I know this particular one, there was some issues I had with the neighbors. And
I agree, I just.
That's a good one.
Yeah, he's probably safe, super safe and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Have that guy there, you know, I don't know if I'm going across, literally across the
Not the
corner.
But I think the board, it sounds like they're willing to look at a proposal of possible ordinance for a area of zoning that could allow a conditional use of a range if it was so many
There's
thousands.
obviously an interest.
Huh?
There's obviously an
Yeah, we
interest.
got 3 up here.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, I would task our manager to, you know, maybe by the time we have a workshop,
Okay.
it gives you a couple months to.
And definitely, they cannot be shooting toward, even if they have a berm, the berm cannot be between the residential area.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
That's-
that's what my way is.
Well, it's really from one end residential areas, I don't listen to
Going
it.
a long way.
I expected the country around one house here, one house there, I'm gonna hear, once in a while, I'm gonna stay there, I'm gonna go pop, 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 you know, but every day, if I lived in a neighborhood,
It got really popular.
Yeah. so there's, I'm sure there's some guidelines we could set that we would feel comfortable with.
Your regions range in Lost Plantation.
I know.
It didn't bother me, but.
Unfortunately, that's just for the police, I think others use it, they shouldn't be, but
Yeah.
can you imagine if it was commercial and everybody was using it?
Every day, and it was not every day.
The biggest issue is long run. Because some of those are too powerful to even use on an indoor range. They have to be used outdoors.
And then there are things in the zoning that we do that you say it can only be used 2 days a week or whatever.
Yeah, we can do something like that.
Limit noise.
Well, this, 3,000 acres out in the middle of nowhere.
You can limit the hours of the day.
It's like a firecracker off in the distance. It's too fast.
Listen, I've said this before, my neighbor's walking dog aggravate more than guns.
That's right. Okay. I think it's good to look, ask our manager to help us come up with some things to look at on our workshop. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I don't think I have anything tonight. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to adjourn this meeting. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. We are adjourned.